Fala galerinha da Cigar 019, sejam todos bem-vindos a mais um super vídeo, porque hoje nós vamos falar com o cara dessa marca aqui, Mr. JD, exatamente, Jonathan Drill, vai falar com a gente e eu tenho certeza que você vai gostar demais desse bate-papo. Então acomode-se em sua poltrona, vem com a gente, porque hoje, hoje vai ser sensacional. Mas antes de continuarmos, é claro, diretor, sabe aquela vinheta? Roda ela pra nós.
Roda!
Vocês estão vendo aqui a presença ilustríssima de Drill, Jonathan Drill, JD. It's better.
Dealer's choice.
Sensacional, Drill. JD. JD because it's more common. JD, nice to meet you too.
Pleasure.
I'm glad to come to us, to join us in this video, and I'm start the same question for the all people, and I talk. What your first cigar?
Before I answer my first cigar, we were speaking a little earlier. You asked right before we started whether I have ever gone to Brazil.
Wow.
So let me just say, I have been to Brazil many, many times. Maybe around 8 times. But unfortunately, I have not been to Brazil in the last 10 years. So it's been quite a while, since 2014. But I used to go to Brazil, to Salvador de Bahia.
Yeah.
And we went to other cities, but always our goal was to get to Salvador. And I remember those trips fondly. And actually, something that I remember now, my very first trip to Brazil, on the way home, I lost my plane ticket. So I had to go through the weirdest thing, and after losing my plane ticket, I lost my passport.
My God.
So it was that trip was a very interesting trip. But I love Brazil. I love the tobacco. I've been through Brazil looking at Marafina, Mara Norte, Mara Sol, Arapiraca tobaccos, plantation tobacco, farmer tobaccos, all different types of crops of tobaccos, and purchased to this day a tremendous amount of Brazilian tobacco. I would be surprised if there's anybody in Nicaragua who makes cigars essentially for the U.S. market who buys more Brazil than Drew. And especially Marafina.
Yeah.
So the Marafina tobacco is used on a variety of our products, including as the wrapper for the Java that I make for Rocky Patel.
Yeah.
And very importantly, I don't want to say more importantly because Java, we're very proud of that brand, but I will mention a brand to you that many of you probably love or have tried or like, And you know the brand. It's called Liga Privada.
Wow.
So Liga Privada does not use Brazilian wrapper, but pretty much every Liga Privada uses Brazilian binder. Maybe with one exception. So, and always Matafina. So when we purchase in Brazil, for Matafina as an example, you need to find a home for all of the tobaccos.
Yeah.
And most importantly, your wrapper and then your binder and down to your filler. And the filler is also an incredible filler tobaccos from Brazil. So we're a very large investor into Brazil, into Brazilian tobacco, and we greatly respect the culture as well. I've had, as you guys probably know, I'm a music guy, art guy. I've been a graffiti and music guy from in the pioneering years in hip hop as well, certainly with graffiti. That plays a big role in my life, and very loud, big art philosophies, and I'm passionate about that. I've always found Brazil to always capture my spirit and heart when I'm there, and it comes down to the people.
Wow.
The dancing, the eating, the loudest motherfuckers at a table that you could ever find. Okay, I lived in Nicaragua for almost 19 years, and they're loud. Who's louder, Cubans or Nicaraguans?
Well, oh.
Well, let me tell you, Brazilians, that's child play, Nicaragua and Cuba.
It's a Cuban.
No, I know, because I'm telling you, the shit gets live quick, and I love that, because the energy is what Drew Estate's about. The energy is what keeps us motivated, keeps us going, lifts each other up when we're down or when. So, and there's beautiful energy in Brazilian people. So thank you for having us today and being part of this Brazilian interview. It means a lot to us.
Your first time in Brazilian channel. Your first time in Brazilian channel.
I don't think so. I don't think it's my first time, but it's been quite a while, to really be honest with you. I've done some things with Brazilian bloggers before, and certainly look, man, I've been doing this shit. I'm an OG, man. I've been doing this shit for 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
All right? Like, I have forgotten more about tobacco and things than most people will learn in a lifetime. And I still have a lot to learn. And I think I'm going to learn some things in this interview. Now, going back to your first question, or second, actually, in terms of what my first cigar was.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I do not remember which brand it was, but I can tell you this. And I'm proud to say this. My first brand was a Cuban cigar.
Wow.
And it set me in a trajectory and in a path. I was working in Washington, D.C. I was actually on an internship before I became the youngest deputy political assistant in the history of the Senate, I believe. And I had my first Cuban cigar. And from there, the second and fifth and 20th and everything else. I quickly moved into Dominican tobaccos. And I opened my first retail store in Manhattan at the World Trade Center after the first bombing. The first bombing was 93.
Yeah.
I opened my store Super Bowl Sunday 96, so February 1996. And that's where also Nicaraguan tobacco was really about 1% of sales in the United States. So when you think of what was the big brand, the big country of origin was Dominican Republic. Honduras second, maybe 25, 30% of sales. And Nicaragua was 1 or 2% sales. So Nicaragua then became, for me, just Nicaraguan tobacco lit me up. And started venturing a lot to Nicaragua after that. And Brazilian tobacco, it was in 2005, and I think we'll talk a little bit about that later because we mentioned it earlier, was where Brazilian tobacco became more of a staple in the Drew Estate wheelhouse of how we blend.
Wow, incredible. Your first cigar is inspiration for you about the another plans if you make of these years?
Yeah, I think what you're getting at and about being inspired is, you see, excellent manufacturers, many of them, blend tobacco from various countries to make a multi-country blend. Sometimes 2 countries, 3 countries, sometimes more. Other companies really have perfected the skill set and perfected the art of blending what we call a what?
Yeah.
A puro, which is a country of one country origin. A cigar, a puro, a cohiba, a tobacco of one country origin. So we land at Drew Estate on the blended side. I give great respect to the companies who can blend one country of origin, of course, from different areas, like in Nicaragua, maybe Jalapa, Esteli, Condega, or Matepe. So we blend from various countries. So that's part of our philosophy. It doesn't mean that someday we won't do a puro, but right now we do not have a puro. And after 30 years, that's a long time. So you can tell we buy a tremendous amount of Nicaraguan tobacco, Dominican tobacco, Brazilian tobacco, Mexican tobacco, tobacco from the United States, tobacco from really all over the world. And then through some of our more exotic blends, we really blend with some wild tobacco. And people are always shocked in terms of how far we go to get new tastes.
Yeah.
Because tastes get created, as you know well, at the seed level, and then where you grow the tobacco. But for me, one of the most fundamental pieces comes next, which is the processing of the tobacco.
Yeah.
So really, and you can keep breaking it down and micro breaking it down. So Cuban tobacco, anybody who is a professional in this world, some people call it the industry, I call it the culture, you can't turn a blind eye to Cuba. You would be joking yourself, kidding yourself, and making some story in your brain that like Cuban cigars don't exist, or Cuban tobacco is not good tobacco. This is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Cuban tobacco is amazing tobacco, as is all of the countries, even including countries like Indonesia. And there's variety, different types of strains, different types of tobaccos. People don't, in our world, a lot of the real geeky dudes who we love, they love those really hardy, heavy, really robust, thick tobaccos. When you pick up the tobaccos, they're very, very thick. Some of the thinner tobaccos, whether it's what I call bright tobaccos, whether it's a Connecticut shade style tobacco or a Indonesian style tobacco, or certain Sumatra, certainly, they all come to play when you're blending. They all have a place on the map.
Yeah.
So, so I think my pathway of where I started and different places that I went to as the company has evolved, there's no country that I really look down upon and say, oh, they don't have good tobacco. Almost every country has actually really beautiful tobacco. It's what you do with it.
Wow, perfect. Nice. And I'm talking about the slogan, the Drew Estate. When the slogan, the rebirth of Cigar came up, did you have any idea what Drew Estate would become as such of short time?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I did.
Nice. But and I start because you goes to Nicaragua, you live in Nicaragua. The people talks about the gringo loco in Nicaragua.
We'll come to gringo loco, but let me ask you something. Your question to me is, did I have any idea what Drew Estate would become?
Yeah.
And you were a little shocked to see me say, yes.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What did Drew Estate become?
It's difficult.
Let me tell you what we became. We became a heart-driven business. We've never changed. That's why I can look you and report to you and tell you, yes, without any question, I knew exactly what we would become because I am the son of Gary and Esther. I know my history. I know my values. my family. I know what I grew up with in my childhood. My parents are antique dealers. I grew up at a very young age exploring the world. And historically, whether it was through the fur trade or the spices trade or coffee trade going back to the Ottoman Empire or to the Crusades or to, in that time period I'm a huge fan of, the early tribes of prior to the Ottoman Empire. I'm going back to some Suleiman Shah shit right here. You understand? Like, I love historical approaches to everything. And at the end of the day, it really comes back down to your creativity, your energy, your commitment to what you're doing, and to the heart of your company, your soul. So Drew Estate has grown to become, in my opinion, I call it the biggest cigar brand and company in the world. Probably I'm correct, but somebody once told me or recently said I'm not correct. I don't know. We were once the smallest cigar company in the world, just 28 and a half years ago. So the size of the business, if that's what you mean, that's one thing. But our heart, our vision, and as you said, rebirth of cigars, while bullets have been fired at us, and we've had moments where we've been knocked for a loop, right? We hit the fucking asteroid here. We got the space invaders shooting us. Our culture has been attacked, ramrodded, made fun of. Fucking like Nas, fucking spit on me, shit on me, kick me in the face in the grave, whatever. Like Drew Estate is this. No, it's an unstoppable force. And it really goes always back to our heart in what we do, believing in ourselves. Our greatest strength is our people at our factory. That's something that we are unwavering, and that has never changed. When we had 6 employees, my original 6, and then later when I sold the business with Marv, probably 1,700 people, and now thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Those things all add into rebirth of cigars. And it's not in the foreseeable future, and hopefully never, going to change. We may not always be the biggest. We may not always be the best, because our cigars are not the best. In my opinion, nobody's cigars are the best. It's whatever somebody likes, then that's the best cigar. You could charge $150 for some cigar, and you're like, yeah, whatever you're into. But you could smoke an $8 cigar or a $7 cigar, and even a $5 cigar, and still say, that's my favorite stick, because everybody has their own taste, and we have to respect that from each person. So,
Well, the Gringo Loco comes from your lifestyle in New York, maybe.
no. Gringo Loco comes from a very, very specific place. Don Jose Orlando Padron.
Wow.
Period, full stop. That's a fact that can never be taken away. No one can rewrite that shit. I was very close with Orlando Padron, and in my early years living in Nicaragua, of which I lived inside the factory for 14 years, not around the block, or you come once a month, or you have a house outside the city somewhere. I lived inside the factory with my bedroom inside the factory for 14 years. And Orlando Padron was a great inspiration to me, and we became friends. And going all the way back to 1998 during the Zona Franca times in Nicaragua, as we created our Zona Franca, and that was very interesting time. And he used to always say to people, oh, you're with JD, with Jonathan Drew, that guy, woo. And he would say, yeah, Gringo Loco. And he was very animated. If you think I'm animated, that guy was R.I.P., rest in peace, to one of the greatest who's ever lived. And that's where Gringo Loco came from, and it's been documented in books and stuff. So it's a real privilege and an honor to have spent those years, and still have that name hang around a little bit.
Wow. And that's a story I know, but I remember seeing somewhere that was said that your success would be related that when pigs fly. Today, the pigs fly.
Yeah, they're flying right here. Look at this shit. This is the Liga Privada Selección de Mercado 10. And look, the pigs are flying right there.
Nice.
Have you seen these? Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, these are really, really nice.
Wow.
We have some boxes for you, certainly. But yeah, when pigs fly and being successful, you know, my mom and dad are very proud of me. They're proud of our company, Drew Estate. We've been successful from day one. Any of you who choose to make your own company and build your dream and work for yourself, you might fail one time, you might fail 2 times, you might have to stop and become an employee of another company, whatever. But that is success in having to blaze your own trail. And sometimes we win and sometimes we lose, or both. But yeah, pigs are flying all day.
That's it. Pigs fly. You participated for all development blends. You stay together. You try. Talk about a little about this because it's very interesting.
Very interesting question. So
Because
yes.
you today is a face of the Drew State, but you
What do you mean
have
I'm the face?
time.
I founded the fucking company. Of course I'm the
Exactly,
face.
exactly.
Yeah.
You found the time to participate for the development new blends.
Yeah, so Drew Estate is a unique company for a lot of reasons. We are, as opposed to some companies where they really have one person who takes notoriety, credibility for every single thing that they do. You know, typically it's a process that
Yeah.
requires many people. It's the same thing that I've noticed in wine or in whiskey. But with cigars, I think it's even more so. And one of the things that makes Drew Estate so great, and one of the reasons I love Drew Estate so much, is our diversity.
Yeah.
Like if you think of Acid or Liga Privada or Java or Undercrown or Herrera or Nico Rustica, whatever brand you're into, Deadwood, think of how diverse our products are. Think of that. Such diversity in our products. There's a lot of palettes on it. For the last number of years, Willie has been our master blender, and he does a great job. But all of us participate in the process.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is get very involved at the very beginning as we develop something. Make sure that the tonality, more on the concept side, almost as if you're making a movie and saying, hey, look, where do I want this movie to take the viewer? Where will the conflict be? Where will the surprises be? Where will the amazing journey be? Because so many companies, whether they're cigar companies or not, want to tell you their story all the time. But it's very rewarding to when you put yourself and think about the consumer journey and be able to understand that side of the journey. And it's where those things come together, the consumer journey and the brand journey. And I think that's where a lot of the magic happens, that you're saying, a lot of that friction's like this. There's a great degree of beautiful friction at Drew Estate. It's rigor, it's grit, real grit. When you smoke a Liga Privada T52, 9, H99, Liga 10, your teeth, your mouth, you feel that tobacco in your mouth. You feel it on your gums. I wouldn't say it's aggressive. It's heavy leaf tobacco.
Yeah.
And that grind and grit is the same as a New York grind and grit. What's the difference philosophically between New York grit and swagger versus the grit of a Liga Privada number 9. So a lot of philosophy and shit gets blended into our cigars. And if we know this cigar has to have earth and grit, if it's missing that in your mouthfeel, and you go, well, this is a fucking amazing cigar.
Yeah.
But Liga had to have that earth and grit. Otherwise, it would not have been corrected on brand.
Wow, incredible. Year after year, Drew States stands out with the new products. But in my opinion, nothing will surpass the partnership with the greatest band all of time, Metallica. Talking about this because this is a crazy, man.
I have a question for you.
Let's go.
So everybody knows Drew Estate in our world, in cigar culture. People know Drew Estate, hip hop, graffiti, b-boy dance, New York, that world. So when we did a project with Eminem, I think people were like, "Oh, that's so fucking cool," but they weren't like surprised.
Yeah.
When we came out with this project with Metallica with James Hetfield, I knew this is what the RZA from Wu-Tang Clan calls the zigzag zigular. This was really the emblematic zigzag zigular that makes people say to themselves, that Drew Estate, I want to go deeper. I want to go deeper. That really caught a lot of people off guard because they just associated us so much with New York and hip hop and graffiti. So, yeah, this brand that we have together, it's really for James Hetfield. In my opinion, Metallica is probably the biggest group in the world and of all time that have ever lived in dollars and t-shirt sales and fucking concert. Like these guys, I don't know if there's anybody who's ever surpassed the greatness of Metallica. And what's cool about them is they've always stayed true to being that. And James Hetfield, who I've got to know him quite well, the guy is like so impressive when you spend time with him. He's so nice. Like, you know James Hetfield's smart. You know he's a badass musician. You know he's a lyricist and a writer, staying up all nighter. But he's so freaking cool and nice. And the first time we had dinner, he just lifted his hands and grabbed everybody and said a prayer. And I was like, man, this guy doesn't cease to amaze me. So for him, he's a very wealthy guy. He's not looking at doing all this tchotchke shit or hurting his image. This guy's very brilliant. He is passionate about project or he's not doing it. Blackened by Drew Estate is his passion project.
Wow.
Now, he has more than one passion project. I can only speak on the one that we partner on. And all that force, he's a force of nature. And I'm learning a lot from him and his team. Because also, like I explained earlier, Drew Estate's not a one-man show. Neither is James Hetfield. His team around him is incredible. The way he creates music and a song, albums, is psychological. He's just powerful. So yeah, it's been a really amazing experience with them. We've now released both the Maduro, as well as the Connecticut Shade. It's called Shade to Black.
The name is perfect, Shade the Black.
I want to get it up to the head of sales of our company actually came up with the name, which is usually a marketing guy or creative guy at the company. But Ike, our senior VP of sales, he called me one day. He's like, JD, I know you're going to hate this, but I got a name for the Connecticut. He goes, I know you're going to hate it. I said, well, what is it? He said, Shade Black. I said, bro.
The perfect name.
I said,
Wow.
that is the name. And James went for it, and everybody loves it. So yeah, so it's been a great partnership, and I think we're at the beginning stages of something really cool, and we're going to learn our lessons. You know, if you make cigars that you're passionate about, and you make them at a quality level which you can keep consistent, and if you can't keep them consistent, you know, do them yearly and let people know.
Yeah.
This year's this way, next year a little stronger, milder, and you stay true to your path, you'll have great product. With this brand, with Blackened, I think we're on to something big, but I know we're on to something fun. I think it's going to be big. It's big already, but I know it's fun. And if you haven't had one, the Maduro is it's a crippler. It's not overly strong. It's not the strongest cigar you've had. It's full bodied.
Yeah.
But it's really a truly, we call it a journey into the depth of Maduro. It's really all about how Maduro ticks, what makes Maduro tobaccos when you put them together, wrapper, binder, filler, what does that expression really taste like? And so as your journey, probably most of you smoke some degree of Maduro cigars. Blackened is a must try. And we're seeing people who really come back to it, which makes us happy. No one likes to make a strikeout. We've struck out with stuff that we've done because we're not afraid to fail. We take risks. Some shit sucks. But we're like, yo, who the fuck? You know the egg? Who comes up with the fucking egg?
Yeah.
Okay, or Medusa, or even the Acid brand. Everybody told us we'd fail with the Acid brand. And, Cuba's the number one selling SKU in the United States of any premium cigar. So we have to take risks because we believe in the product or we believe in the moment. And the market will tell us whether they like it or not.
Wow, that's an amazing story, man. Well, I like Maduro cigars, and that's the next question is about this, because in another line, and I big fan, the Blackened is perfect. Maduro is perfect.
Thank you.
Wow, perfect. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Glad you like
But the Underground Maduro is the other line was a big fan. Talk a little bit because the line is it's not so much equal a Liga Privada, but it's very interesting story too. Talk about this because it's very interesting.
Yeah, well, I think you hit on something really interesting to me in your question. The triangle. Liga Privada, Underground,
And Blackened.
Blackened. So what you're doing now for your people is you're saying, hey, look, Drew Estate has these three good brands, interesting brands, Liga Privada, Underground, and Blackened, and all of them have a very Maduro heavy leaf presence. How do they work together? Why do we have all these Maduros? Like, or Herrera also has Maduro, but that's more Habano focused, Habano leaf from Ecuador. So these three, the triangulation of these three brands is very interesting. Liga Privada is really a very heavy cigar. It is stronger.
Yeah.
It is more powerful of a cigar.
The flavor is...
Forget the flavor in a way, though. Like, the flavor is great, and some people like the 9 or the 52, whatever. But the flavor is subjective. But just the power, the sheer power to a Liga Privada is heavier. Again, you hear me talk about heavy leaf versus bright leaf, dark leaf versus bright leaf. Liga Privada has a Brazilian Matafina binder. So people in the industry know how difficult it is to use Matafina as a binder. You use Matafina as a wrapper. Matafina as a binder means you need to go through and sort through the tobacco to get tobacco thin enough that it will burn. Because when you put dark on dark, It's very difficult. The dark wrapper with a dark binder does not burn well, and you get a lot of canoeing and a lot of bad burn. Bright on bright, a Connecticut shade or an Indonesian style tobacco, Sumatra, these will be typically bitter or too bitter. So you typically want to go dark on bright or bright on dark to get that nice balance.
Yeah.
Liga Privada is a dark on dark. It's a very heavy stick. Undercrown and Blackened, both of those Maduros are medium plus. But both of them have such a different taste.
Yeah.
And then you have, on top of that, Undercrown 10, which is also Maduro. And what makes the question actually interesting as well is if you get rid of Liga Privada, and now you just look at Undercrown 10, which is Mexican, heavy leaf, Undercrown Maduro, and Blackened Maduro. Now you have all three Mexican wrappers. Why are these cigars different and how are they different? It comes to the binder and the filler. It comes to the way the tobacco is rolled, the way the cigars are rolled. And at the end of the day, the blend components, Ernesto Perez Carrillo from La Gloria Cubana originally, and then EPC, I guess it was like 2002. And he came to help me at the factory. He stayed 5 nights. In that year, I blew up the Drew Estate factory. I had to fire every single employee. I had at that point about 176 employees. We made the front cover of the Nicaraguan newspaper. And we rolled all of our cigars tight. So I made the crazy decision to stop production. And I was advised by many people, you can't do that, or you're going to go into financial bankruptcy and everything. And I called Ernesto Perez Carrillo, my dear friend. I said, I need your help. I need you to come to Nicaragua. I have a project that I don't know if I'm going to get through it. And he came to Nicaragua, and he is one of the reasons that we got through this. General Cigar Company, another part of the reason. Were very helpful to me, lent me money. I mean, real stand-up, great people. But one of the first nights we were together in Nicaragua, he said, Johnny, I want you to smoke this cigar. I can't do a great Ernesto Perez Carrillo voice, and I won't insult him. He said, I want you to smoke the cigar. It's strong, and I want you to tell me about it. And I said, yeah. So I smoked it with him at the table. I forget the restaurant. It was in Esteli. And the cigar was strong. I said, hey, Ernie, this got a lot of strength to it. I don't think this is in any of your blends here in the U.S. And he says, no, it's not. It's not. I'm here visiting ASP, David Perez and his family. And he said, so you really think it's very strong? I said, this is an ass-kicking, strong cigar. And he laughed and he goes, ha ha! He goes, it's got no ligero. So as you know, seco, viso, ligero. Ligero being the strength leaf. This cigar was so strong. And the strongest leaf it had in it was viso. And so it was an amazing lesson, which now that lesson from him to me, I've passed down or laterally through the company as well. And when you smoke Blackened, when you smoke Undercrown, the best thing you can do is smoke them against each other and start to see which one you like better than the other. Some people like both. Often people say, I have both in my rotation, but I prefer the Undercrown or the Blackened. And the Undercrown 10 is, I'd say, in between in strength. Those two brands, which are similar, yeah. Undercrown and Blackened in strength, but taste so different. And Liga kind of sits between that Undercrown 10. So the strength is more. It's a little more in your face. But that cigar kind of has, everybody says that cigar tastes like Mexican hot chocolate. That's like what it is. Everybody says that about the cigar. Mexican hot chocolate. And I always say, like, wow, when you hear that like 200 times, it starts to resonate. So, yeah. So there's a little bit of the juxtaposition of each of these
Wow.
blends.
Incredible. Well, my friend, the last question. When I come to Brazil again, if you go to São Paulo, Bahia is cool, Salvador is nice, but São Paulo you like. Because the life in São Paulo is more rock and roll, you know? And when you stay in São Paulo, talk to us. Let's go smoke a cigar and enjoy life. Because Drew State for me is passion. I see today here all people involved in this process is passion for Drew State.
Thank you.
My friend, congrats. Thank you for coming to join us in this video. And I'm stay you in São Paulo.
You know, I'll tell you one quick thing. So when I do go back to São Paulo, I definitely will find you guys and let you know prior. I'm excited to go back to Brazil. It's been a long time. I miss Brazil. We've had great times. And that feijoada.
Oh,
Ai,
caipirinha.
ai. What's the thing that it's the yuca and it goes on top of the rice and the beans? It's crunchy.
Farofa.
Farofa. That I will elect Farofa as president of the United States. If that was on the list, I pick that. And for all these Latins here, you know, my fiance is Latina. She's from Nicaragua, and I've, you know, a tremendous amount of my friends and family now, Latin people. So when I try to describe to them that, what do you call it? Farofa. That farofa. Because, you know, doesn't matter where we go. If we go to fucking McDonald's, she wants rice. I'm like, yo, you don't eat fucking rice at McDonald's, baby. And rice. When you eat those rice and beans, and I sprinkle that, people were looking at me crazy because I was dumping so much, like loads of it on there. Yeah, so I remember one trip with Nicholas where we went first to Sao Paulo. And we stayed there the night before. We headed over to Salvador, the Bahia. And we really enjoyed ourselves. We had a great time, great food. And the energy, we were a little nervous because we didn't know much. You know, there was rumors, danger, this and that. But you hear that everywhere. Nicaragua, New York, right? And we had such a fun time, man. Those are great memories. You'll have to ask him, what was our song on that trip? Because we always had a song for every trip. And that's where that tradition started, was on our first Brazilian trip together. So, hey, brother, thank you for having me and for having Drew Estate. Thank you for everybody who's tuned in. You can find our Instagram at Drew Estate Cigar on Instagram and at drewestate.com for our website. And I'm at Jonathan Drew Art, A-R-T, Jonathan Drew Art on my Instagram. I actually posted today. I haven't posted in a year, but I felt inspired with the, did you guys see the Underground 10?
Yeah.
The new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Flying Pig. It's pretty dope. So come check that out. And peace. God bless everybody. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank my friend.
Yeah, nice.
Appreciate